So off the bat, I do think that this half of the season was significantly better than the first part.
Oh yeah, 100%. I think there was more tension in this part of the season, whereas before it was like, no, there's the bad guy. Pay attention to the bad guy. It was very apparent. Now everyone's on side. We've really connected with the characters more this season. We've also lost some characters. Did I cry? Oh my goodness.
She went bawling. It was bawling.
It was
a waterfall. It was like a tsunami had struck our house and we had a flood.
It was really bad, but it was necessary for the character growth, for the story, and I think we did get a good amount of plot and characterization from everybody this half of the season.
Hey, NarendraTheComic again!
India!
No, we got non-sensei, but we do have a Lucifer Season 5 Part 2 review. Now, a lot of shit happened in this season. We're not going to be able to get through it all because we just don't have enough time. But the broad points are, this is going to be spoilers. There's going to be stuff being said here. So if you haven't watched this show, don't be watching this review, alright? Sometimes we do non-spoilers. This one's spoilers. It's going to be heavy. There's a lot of shit happening in this review because there was a lot of shit happening in the show. So we'll start off with God coming to Earth. A big way to end the last half of the season. A big way to start the beginning of this one. And it was pow.
Yeah, it was kind of a lot because we're in the middle of this big fight scene and God's like, boys, stop fighting, please.
Calm thyself.
You know? And then there's this whole thing between Lucifer and God being like, you weren't a good father. Very tense family dinner with Linda, which was perfect for the scene, I will say.
Yeah.
And there's a lot going on between the brothers and between God and them. We finally have an understanding of who God is, the way they've characterized him, and why Amenadiel and Lucifer and everyone kind of has a problem with him, and how he hasn't been the best father.
And I think that was shown with Lucifer through the seasons. That was shown with Amenadiel. But now you really saw how they had a very fractured relationship. And maybe in one part of your mind, you might have thought Lucifer might have been over-representing that. And maybe it wasn't as bad as he made it seem. But clearly there were big problems between them and the family as a whole. And I think those things were resolved by the time God came and went in this season. Now, Dan died. We're going to jump straight there because it was out of left field. But at the same time, considering the way he was working through his guilt, you kind of assumed it could happen. But he was working through it. He hadn't overcome it yet. And he's now in hell.
No, guys. Honestly, I feel like you've done Dan dirty. He was going through such a rough time in his life. He was figuring things out all over again. He had to come to terms with the fact that Lucifer was in fact Lucifer. And God was on Earth. And God was on Earth, and God exploded him and then put him back together, and all those things. And then Lucifer was like, you've lost your mojo. Let me give you your mojo back. You can't be sullen, Daniel. And he constructed this whole thing for him, which shows how good of a friend Lucifer was, even though he wasn't doing it for those reasons, but he kind of was. In his heart, he cared about him a lot. Did. And then you just kill him. I understand why they needed to kill him for character and for the plot. But it was really hard to watch. Like, it was really painful.
I felt even more for that death than the second death that came in the final episode. And I think they paced this season, this half the season, better than the first half. I think the stories overall were better than the first half as well. But I do feel that when it came to the penultimate episode, they left the resolution not enough time to fit. I don't think it felt earned. It felt very pushed. It felt very quick, very forced. And that was my only real problem with the story of this second half of the season. Because something this show does well is it has great characters. That's why you watch this show. You don't really watch it for the story. You don't watch it for the incredible visuals or what's happening. You watch it for the characters. You watch it for their relationships. And that's something they do really, really well. Better than, I think, probably anyone on TV right now, on streaming, whatever it might be. And I think they kind of let the ball slip in that penultimate episode with the way Chloe and Lucifer's relationship was tumultuous and the way it just seemed to be fixed come the last episode.
Yeah, I do think when we got to that penultimate episode, Bay and I were talking, we were like, how are they going to fix this in one episode? Like, there's too much to go through for their relationship and everyone else mourning Dan to be like, let's go on and stop Michael. It didn't really fit. Even though with the amount of time they had in the final episode, they did a good job of kind of tying up all those loose ends, but it did seem a tiny bit forced with the ending. I would have preferred to have a bit more of a cliffhanger and have it not fully panned out and finished with these storylines, then have it all come out pretty with a bow.
Especially because you know you're getting another season.
Yeah.
You know there's one final season and you could have left it on a cliffhanger so that there was more time to explore that storyline. But now, obviously, with Chloe dying and that big death at the end, and then coming back to life because Lucifer didn't get killed when he re-entered heaven, and he gave Chloe his immortality ring, so Chloe survived and came back to life even though she was dead, and Azrael was seen for the first time in a very long time, and those things brought up other questions, which is, wait, why does Ella see Azrael so much? Why did she? And the thing God said about, you have so much darkness, but your light is so bright, I see you from heaven. I think Ella isn't wrong in saying she might be cursed.
Yeah.
I think she is.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Also, they did make a point of coming up with Ella's darkness repeatedly. You can see she was struggling throughout the season. Then when Dan died, it was really, really rough on her and everybody else. But I feel like with the Ella storyline, we're going to see more of that in season 6. And a lot of this was set up for next season, right? I feel like they've made that very clear with the way they're foreshadowing.
Yeah, that was 100% there. And then there's Maze getting a soul, potentially. Demons can have souls. I think the core thing to this entire story, this season, but the whole show, is the idea of redemption.
Yeah.
Anyone can be redeemed if given the opportunity. It's their choice whether to take it or not, but it's there for them, and anyone can achieve that if they so choose.
Yeah.
And if a demon can do it, anyone can. But the fact that now people in hell can also potentially be redeemed is a big one.
I think they threw that in there so that there's the option for Dan to be redeemed and go to heaven.
Yeah.
I feel like Dan's not coming back to Earth. There's only one of those rings. Chloe's the only one who has it. But I think we needed to see a bit of closure from the audience on his behalf.
And that's a possibility for next season, for maybe Lucifer seeing him in heaven.
Also, one of the big parts of this storyline for this half of the season was the self-actualization. You know, Michael slipped in God's ear that you've been forgetting things and things aren't going great. And then God developed some God version of like
Amnesia,
Alzheimer's, and then everything started to kind of fall apart. But then it came perfectly right in the middle when we saw the goddess of the universe again. And that was a very nice ending to
his story
with what we saw of him and her story, right? It just left shit for all the siblings.
You weren't sure if all the angels were going to die or just one or two. And the way they shot it, it was actually pretty well shot for an action scene for them. I think that the CGI with the Michael-Lucifer fight was actually pretty good with demon wings or angel wings and the flaming sword and all that. I was shocked that they did it the way they did, considering they said they weren't going in there to kill the angels. And then they had them like slicing them up. They had them dicing people, shooting them. It kind of felt like the MO was missed there. And I think that's because the Chloe situation occurred then and there in Michael killing Chloe. And that was kind of expected. And I think one of the things this show doesn't do is it doesn't hide its foreshadowing.
Yeah.
It is very clear with what it's going to do.
Yes.
And it's unapologetic for that.
Yeah, I actually appreciate that. I would prefer something be foreshadowed properly, being followed through, than being foreshadowed then say, no, we're going to pull a twist and something's going to come out of nowhere that doesn't make sense. There's a reason why storytelling's done like this, because there's a sense of satisfaction for the audience when it does happen.
It's true. So you've achieved something at the end of it. The thing you thought would happen. But I think sometimes they can be a bit heavy-handed with it, that's all.
Yeah, Lucifer gave him a chance.
Well, Lucifer gave Michael a chance, but we kind of just skipped over the whole thing, which is, like, Lucifer became God.
Oh, yeah.
So I'd like to say I was right.
Yes.
Can I get a hallelujah?
I can give you an amen.
I'll take it. But
so you were right. Lucifer did become God.
They gave a lot of exposition in this episode, but I think most of it was needed and most of it fit. And it felt jarring, rarely. Yeah. It wasn't like they were chucking this stuff in and you felt out of place. You felt like they were lecturing you about it. They were inserting it where they could. They weren't pushing it too much.
With the next season, we're going to see Lucifer becoming God, like, properly, and figuring out what he can and can't do, where he's going to spend his time, what's going to happen with hell. Is he going to have to only be in heaven? Is
Maze going to become the demon lord of hell? Probably not now, because she's in love with Maze and now she has a soul. Oh, she's in love with Eve and now she has a soul. Well, hey, love yourself first, all right?
Yes.
She needs to do that, because that's a big problem for her. Linda had some subplots here. Amenadiel and his kid with Linda as well. And other subplots, all going good. Things changing. Baby not really an angel. Maybe baby an angel. We don't know. We just don't know. But I will say, better than the last season. Better than season 4. Better than the first half of season 5. I can't really hope for much else.
I would agree.
Anyway, guys. If you did enjoy this video, please do like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel down there. If you didn't, if Lucifer himself gonna come after you, God Almighty, baby. You don't want that, do they want that?
No.
You really don't, so just subscribe anyway to avoid that. I've been NarendraTheComic.
I've been India.
She's been on Sensei. You've been great, and we'll see you next time. That's tomorrow. If you don't know, make a video every single day. Been doing it every day for over 1,000 days now. We ain't stopping till we get to 10,000 subscribers. So do subscribe. Pop back again tomorrow for some more quality shitty content, because we're hashtag
Never Not Here.
Just how it goes. Also bring the because means nonsense and been jumpy, and we also bring that. Bring a lot, bring a little, do a lot, do a lot, but we do indeed bring the quality shitty content on a daily basis. So see you tomorrow. More of the same, slightly different, but essentially the very same. Once more. See you then. Skadoosh.